Here's a quick overview of your 1,035 gallon water trailer. Let's start with the standard pump, 2 inch, 108 psi, 130 gallon per minute pump. So this pump, on-off switch here, throttle, choke, fuel. So obviously switch the switch into the on position. If it hasn't been started, choke it. If it has been started, you probably don't need the choke. So starts up nice and easy. Turn it off, flip the switch. All the operating instructions for this pump and motor are supplied with your information packet. One thing to keep in mind with all centrifugal pumps is try not to run them dry, especially for extended periods of time. Once the pump starts to surge and kind of starts running out of water, best thing to do is just shut it down. That way there's no damage done to the pump. Also, another thing to keep in mind, that pump will create its own heat. So if you run it at full throttle for extended periods of time without any water flow, it has the potential of damaging the pump. So what you want to do is maybe every 15 minutes run a quart of water through it if you're running at that high RPM, or shut it down in between operation to where you're not, because if you run it for an hour at full throttle, it'll create its own heat and actually turn the water in the pump into steam and potentially damage the pump. So it's normally not a problem, but just keep that in mind. Also down here is your self-drafting system. I'll go over that in a different video, but here's the connection and there's the valve for the self-drafting. Up here's your main 2-inch ball valve. In this position, water is shut off to the rest of the manifold. In the forward position, obviously water is supplied to the manifold. Don't forget, if you run the pump, if you pressurize this manifold and you turn this off, you'll still have pressure at these different valves. That's a pretty minimal amount there, but if you had it at full throttle and pressurize this manifold, there will still be residual pressure in the manifold, so you might get wet. Okay, included in that same fire pump system, there's your electric hose reel, 100 foot of 1.5 inch fire hose reel with the nozzle. Have the 4-roller fair lead on it. Underneath here, I don't know if you can see it or not. Let's see. Underneath here is a push button rewind. So essentially, you hit the button. Let's unwind this just a touch. So tap the button, and that's going to suck that guy in there. Pretty standard operation. It is strong, so be careful. Don't get wound up in it. Also incorporated into your trailer was the hinged motor cage. There's the cage there. This is actually the locking pin here. We just put a bolt in it. You can put your padlock in that location. It does hinge up for servicing the motors. Okay, so let's go to the pressure washer. Pressure washer's over here. Same thing, standard operation, on-off switch. Fuel, choke, throttle. Should pull start very easily. One thing to keep in mind with pressure washers, they are highly susceptible to damage due to lack of water. So standard operation for running your pressure washer is going to have your 2-inch pump running at an idle. Doesn't need to be more than an idle, but running at an idle, supplying pressure to the manifold, which in turn supplies pressure to this valve, this strainer, and then feeds to your pump. So 2-inch pump at an idle, just feeding. Most pressure washers require 20 psi. This will suffice that at an idle, because you're really not talking about many gallons per minute, only 2.8 gallons per minute. So when you run this, you want to make sure there's no air in the system. Have to have this valve in the on position when you are operating the pressure washer. Have to have this valve in the off position when you're not operating the pressure washer. You'll know if you have this valve in the on position when you're not operating the pressure washer, because you'll probably get a leak out of here. This is not rated for the 108 psi that the pump puts out if you're running the fire pump at full pressure. And also up here on your hose reel, you'll see this has a bleeder. That way you can't run over pressurize this and end up with a problem. If you run that in the on position, when it's not hooked up to a nozzle, you'll get water that sprays out of there. That's all just safety precautions. Down here is where your nozzles are held. Pretty nice, neat little configuration there. You've got your locking storage compartments, which are gas shocks, so they'll open themselves up, hold themselves up. Inside here you have your wand, and this is your self-drafting hose. Your fire or your pressure washer hose reel here has a latch locking here where this thing can't move. We also added this nozzle, or excuse me, this quick coupler latch here. That way it keeps your hose in nice orientation there. In order to unroll this, just unhook that, pop loose this quick coupler, and you're ready to unwind your pressure washer hose. Same thing when you're putting it back into transport, just latch that down. Over here is the shutoff for your fire hose. So obviously it's in the off position now, on position there. You can probably, either way, leave that in the on position all the time or turn it on and off each time as you use it. Okay, we got our 2-inch integrated manifold. Compasses a trailer where you got two 2-inchers at each corner. Back here are the manually actuated rear sprayers. So procedure for running the rear sprayers, you would turn on one or both, whichever you want. One or both. Come up here to the front. Make sure your main valve is off. You're hooked up to your tow vehicle. Tow vehicle's running. Doors open. You're ready to roll. Fire up the pump. Set the pump RPM to how much pressure you want to run out of those rear sprayers. Full throttle, those sprayers are going to put out a lot of water and they're going to spray really far. If you're doing something that's real small, run it at an idle. You adjust all your pressure by the RPM of the pump motor. So just you'll get that figured out pretty quick on how where to set your motor each time. So the pump's running, rear valves are open, main valve is off. Flip this to the on position, boom, your rear sprayers are spraying, run to your truck, start driving. So that's about as simple as that gets. Back here in the back is your hydrant filler. Got our valve up in the on position, down in the off position. Pretty simple there. You'll typically just hook up to your fire fitting. Make sure the main valve to the pump is off, and fill through the top. Up on top, 16-inch vented screw type lid. You want to make sure anytime you're in transport that lid is tight. Otherwise, just like an ice chest lid, it's going to end up out on the side of the freeway. It is tethered, but the tethers don't do much when you're at freeway speed. So you have the all LED lighting package, DOT compliant. You can see there side markers. You also have, this is your license plate mounting location. So you have your illuminator there. More markers. We give you high visibility LED markers out here on the corner of the fender. That way you can know where the edge of your trailer is. And you also have your side markers here, front and side. Standard drop leg jack. You've got 2 5/16 interchangeable, adjustable. You can swap that out for a pintle also. Adjustable hitch system, so you just set that to your truck height. Another nice thing about this, you can remove this and it acts as a pretty good theft deterrent where somebody has to be carrying around a hitch like this in order to tow away your trailer. You got your heavy duty breakaway chains, standard RV style trailer plug, electric trailer breakaway system. That's the battery there. There's the actuator there. And also inside of here we have the battery for your hose reel, and there's your battery tender as you requested, and there's the outlet here to plug it in. One more thing that I almost forgot. That's the switch, or that's the fuse right there for your hose reel. Gave you an extra strap to the side of it in case by chance you end up popping one. I don't think you will, but you never know. But that way you don't end up having to reel it up by hand. Also, we gave you some hold downs up here. That way you can strap down an ice chest or tools, maybe your self-drafting hose, different things like that.